So I thought we would just do a little bit of sequencing of strategies, and we'd start with, just by looking at this Holy Mad formula, and just looking at the different bits of NLP, and figuring out where they would fit within that formula. So if you were to think about the strategy for establishing and maintaining rapport, establishing and maintaining rapport is basically, first of all, open up your eyes. Secondly, move your body in the same way as the other person is moving their body. Just kinesthetic. Open your ears. Listen how the other person speaks. Speak in the way that they speak, using their intonation patterns, using their tonality, pacing of their timbre. That is the basic strategy for establishing and maintaining rapport. If you want to go deeper, notice or look at the way that they breathe at the same rate as them. If you break it down, they're the pieces that go into it. So it's got visual component, an auditory component, kinesthetic component, and breathing. Well, breathing is part of the same, but you're also adjusting your breathing. So in order to be able to do that, you need a couple of things. First of all, you need to have your senses open to take in information. So if you're not paying attention to how the other person is actually holding themselves or moving their body, then it's pretty difficult to be able to do it. And the other thing is then to have the flexibility to be able to adjust your output to match what you receive from them as input, which is just basic feedback. So the strategy for establishing and maintaining rapport would go, open up your eyes, open your ears, notice what you notice and match it. So in other words, use your non-verbals exactly the same way. People go, oh no, what if someone's noticed me? But that's just an extra bit of the strategy that you don't need. That's an extra bit of auditory digital that is not required in order to do matching.
I find it very useful.
Live long and prosper. So I think you're doing that Star Trek.
Did you right?
I must admit, with animals, cats, dogs, I find it really easy to get into rapport with them. Just by the breathing and the, different voice. And they just calm down.
What, you talk at the same rate as you can?
Yeah.
Cool.
Seriously.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And with humans?
I find there is a very conflict between me and my daughter. Because our values are very different.
Yeah, that's interesting because you're not using the same strategy with your daughter.
Yeah.
So if you, with your cat, what you're demonstrating there,
It's a feeling, isn't it?
yeah, it's kinesthetic. So with your cat, you use the kinesthetic predominantly strategy with a bit of which is mainly analogue. With your daughter, you're mainly using digital. It's a different strategy. So the thing that works, if you go in to your daughter tonight, just stroke her gently on the head and go, but that is the extra bit of the strategy that you don't need, which is what I was just demonstrating. That's the self-talk that talks you out of doing stuff that works. You don't know if it works, you haven't tried it.
Like when we get talking, I'll be very calm, and she just raises her voice.
Fantastic.
And
So if you were to follow the principle of pacing and leading or building rapport, that was talking about earlier, you would raise your voice, not quite to the point that she's raised hers. So you don't go above her because that would escalate. You just go just below. And then you slow it down to go down to the point where she's more calm. If she goes, really good, you go, calm down. You're actually making the difference way, way bigger. So the matching is the principle of doing things the same, not the principle of doing things different. On teenagers, the only distinction that you need to make is to put don't in front of the rest of it. So you say, whatever you do, I don't want you to relax more deeply. And they'll go, okay. It's just a matter of, what I'm demonstrating here is that the thing that you want to do is to elicit their strategy for doing whatever they're doing, and then pace that strategy and then take them somewhere else. So if they're using a polarity response strategy, which is don't, then you just use that back when you communicate with them. Just start with don't and then add in the behaviour that you want. Most people do don't followed by the behaviour that they don't want, which is not an effective hypnotic command. Because if I would say to you, don't think of a red elephant, first thing that pops to mind. So if you're giving commands based on don't, just add in the words afterwards of what you want. So I don't want you all to have a sudden and miraculous insight into strategies within the next half an hour. And I really, really don't want you to do that. So don't pay too much attention to me. And don't really, really get curious. And don't open up all these senses. And really start to notice how these things don't work really well now. So how easy is that to notice? So the more that you do not know more, the more you can know more of what it is that you don't yet know more of. It's all in the language and the way that you use your intonation patterns. This is why it's useful to develop flexibility in the way that you communicate, so that you'll have more varied of a repertoire that will be able to match more people. Didn't you learn easily? So, the next bit then is the delete, change. And I'm just curious if you would know the linguistic structure that would suggest you how to do the leaf change. See, sometimes when you hear the word, I can do that, that suggests you're around the possibility. And when you hear, I can't do that, you're in the realm of, I don't believe it's possible. Now, assuming that there's at least one person on the planet who can do what it is that you want to do, like Jonathan J., then it must be possible. It's just a matter of figuring out what steps did he go through in order to get to where he got to. And what did he start with seeing? And what did he hear people say to him? And what did he feel as he moved further towards? And what did the sweet smell of success taste like? It's just top level strategy, but in detail you'd want to go into all the details of, this is where in marketing testing and measuring comes in. Because you want to break it down into the tiniest little steps and then test and measure everything, and similarly in NLP. So if you're doing a piece of change work with someone and it's really, really working, you're tracking through all the strategies, you're going, cool, so this strategy's there, okay, so that's got them to this result here, so if I change that bit of the strategy, that'll get them to this result here. And if I unpack that one and change that, that'll get them to here. Oh, then there's just this other one here, and that'll get them to here, which is where they want to be, coincidentally. So it's just a matter of being able to track the ordering of things in the senses, spaces in between. Are they deep or wide or high? Very, very high.